In this video, we're going to look at what is called the body's natural healing ability. Now, one of my favorite sayings is, your body's ability to heal is far greater than anyone has permitted you to believe. And this is really important. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing how your body is a self-healing machine. But maybe nobody told you that. So here's a question. Do you believe your body has the ability to heal itself? And do you trust that your body can heal itself? And do you know how to help your body instigate the self-healing mechanisms? So how much can your body heal itself? Well, most people know that if they cut themselves, they naturally expect that the body will heal the cut. The majority of people know and expect, without even thinking about it, that if they cut themselves, their body is going to self-heal. They just trust their body to do that. They don't even think about it. And then say, for example, you break a limb, break an arm or a leg or some bone in the body. We also expect that our body is going to self-heal. And we usually put it in a cast so that we can protect the limbs and keep the body in a certain position so that the body can do its natural self-healing process. And all it needs is rest, rejuvenation, and time. Occasionally we may have to have external intervention as well, maybe some pins to put things together, but mostly we can say that the body self-heals that bone. It repairs that bone. And most people would expect that to happen. Even we can have really complex surgeries. For example, a heart bypass, a heart replacement, a liver replacement. We can have parts of our body taken out, parts put in. And yet, even after a really complex surgery, we expect our body to heal itself. And even though it may take time, because obviously surgery is a very intrusive event for the body and it needs rest and recuperation and regeneration time, we still know on some level, or expect on some level, that our body is going to heal. But what is interesting for many people with chronic illnesses and seemingly inexplicable symptoms that aren't going away is that we can start to doubt this self-healing ability. This is particularly the case for people who have chronic long-term symptoms which are going on for months or years, and they try a lot of different approaches and nothing is working. And then the doubt can begin to creep in. Now, this was certainly the case for me. After 5 years of being unable to work and virtually housebound with chronic fatigue, I really started to doubt, would I ever get better? And what was it that I needed to do to get well? And I even started contemplating that I might not get well. And this is very common for a lot of people with chronic illness. So I really want to help you see that no matter how long symptoms have been going on, there is a cause and that you can turn it around. But you must find the root cause and you must find what it is that you need to do to heal. So why is it that sometimes we doubt whether we can get better? Well, a big answer to that question is what we could call missing information. There is something that we don't yet understand about our illness, about either what is causing it and or what it is that we need to do to resolve it. There's some missing information, and we don't even know that we don't have this information. We just don't know what we don't know. So we can really say that all healing is awareness of what we were previously unaware of, and then we have new choices. Another way of putting this is that we are ignorant. Now, ignorant doesn't mean stupid. They're completely different words. The real meaning of ignorance means to ignore the truth, to be ignorant of the truth. So what we're ignorant of is the truth of A, why we're ill, B, how the body works, and C, what it is that we need to do to get better. So really we could say what we're missing is understanding. And understanding comes from somebody telling you something that you didn't previously know, and you listening to it and being able and open to listen and hear what the person is saying, because this is likely to be brand new information. And at first, this information may even seem implausible or ridiculous or impossible. But once we open our minds to hearing a new perspective, then we're going to see things differently and we're going to understand things differently. And this is a lot of what my work is about, is helping people to understand things in a new way. So what we could say then is that we're going to get a new perspective. And interestingly enough, that perspective was already here. It's already been in front of us, but because of our perspective, we never saw it. And once you see it, you think, oh gosh, that makes sense. Why did I never see that before? So what I share with people is actually common sense, but not so common. So let's look at an example of why we get the flu. Now, a lot of people, when they get the flu, they may just think, well, I caught a bug somewhere. You know, I was flying and there were lots of people coughing on the plane, or I went to visit a friend in hospital, or somebody else at work had the flu and so I caught it. But what I'd like to do here is to give you a bigger perspective on why many people get the flu. And this is just one example of one health condition. There are thousands of health conditions. This is just one example, but it gives you the understanding of the theory of how the natural healing cycle of the body works. Let's take somebody who gets the flu. Very often they will have been working very hard, maybe working overtime, working very long hours, rushing around, not eating properly, overextending themselves, exhausting themselves, maybe for weeks or months on end. And then when they get home, they're usually pretty exhausted, but then they get up the next day and they do it all over again. And then their project finishes, and maybe they go on holiday and they think, great, now I can rest, I can relax, I can have a lovely holiday. And then they find themselves sick in bed in their hotel room with the flu, thinking, why do I always get ill when I go on holiday or when I take time off? Well, I'm going to show you why that happens. It's called the natural self-healing balancing cycle of the body. Or we could say the body restoring homeostasis, which is another word for balance. So understanding this natural self-healing cycle of the body is really enlightening and will help you understand why you get sick. So if we look at this diagram, you can see that there is what we call a stress trigger, which moves into a stress phase. And then there is what is called a regeneration trigger, which moves the body into a regeneration phase. And once it's come through both phases, it comes out into health. Now, if we take the example of the person working very hard for a long period of time, the beginning of that working hard is what we call the stress trigger. Because when we're rushing around, busy, not sleeping enough, not eating well, not exercising well, not resting enough, overworking our body is continually and perpetually in the stress response. Now, when our body is in the stress response on an unconscious, deeper level, it thinks that its life is in danger. So we have this ongoing experience for the body, thinking that its life is in danger. Now, it's okay for that to happen in a very short-term way when there really is a real physical threat to life, such as running out of a house because it's on fire, or you're just about to get run over on the road and you step back onto the path. That is the body's natural automatic response so you can get out of danger. But most people are running their lives in a continual state of perpetual stress, and that stresses all the systems of the body. You're demanding too much of it, but you don't know that you're doing that. And then something happens, which is the regeneration trigger, such as the project finishes or you go on holiday. And this is a signal for the body that it can now self-heal, self-regenerate, recuperate, etc. after the stress phase. And because your body's job is to keep you alive, it is going to do what it needs to do to restore balance and homeostasis. There is nothing you can do to prevent that, because your body knows exactly what it needs to do to maintain health and to stay alive. And if it needs to go into that regeneration phase, it's going to do it. You might not like it, but it's going to do it. And this is the time when we get ill. We come down with a flu or a virus, an opportunistic infection, because our body somehow needs to take us out, so to speak, so that we can rest and rejuvenate. And so we go through this regeneration phase when we have symptoms. So this is really important to understand. Often, not always, but often, symptoms come in the regeneration phase. And this is often the time when people think, oh, I'm sick, something is going wrong, there must be something wrong with my body. But actually, in many cases, the body is actually healing itself. And the symptoms are the sign of the self-regeneration. And once we go through that phase, then we need to make sure that we rest during that phase, then we come out the other side and we come out into homeostasis and health, and then we carry on with our life. Now, this stress regeneration cycle is going on in many ways inside our body, and we can have multiple stress and regeneration phases going on simultaneously. I've given you a really simple example here because it's a very common example. But the bottom line is homeostasis or balance is the name of the game. Body has to maintain homeostasis. And this is part of the yin-yang cycle. Yin is female, dark, cold, calm, rest, slow, relaxation. And yang is activity, energetic, male, sun, bright. Now, most people are spending most of their time in the yang phase. They're busy, not sleeping enough, overworking, pushing their body too much. But the thing is, if you spend 90% of your time in yang and only 10% in yin, that is an imbalance. And one of the laws of the universe is we must have balance. It's a fundamental law of life. And you cannot bypass these universal laws. For example, we have seasons. These are all rhythms. We have summer, autumn, winter, spring, and one season moves into the next. Now, from a season perspective, what most people are doing is they're staying in spring and summer, but they're not allowing themselves to go into autumn and winter. And that is not balance. If you look at nature, it has balance built into it. And actually, we are part of nature. We have balance built into us, but we're overriding it with our minds. Our whole society is out of balance. But if you look at nature, if you look at a tree, in the summer the flowers are out, and then the leaves drop in autumn, and then the tree is bare in winter, and all the sap goes inwards so that the tree can regenerate in order to produce new shoots and leaves in spring. And the cycle goes round and round. But human beings are ignoring this natural cycle, and then there will be consequences, because another law of the universe is cause and effect. We live in a universe of cause and effect, and actions have consequences. So if we are driving our body too hard and not giving ourselves enough rest, then our body is going to get sick. So symptoms are often a sign of self-healing. They're part of the regeneration cycle. They can actually also come sometimes in the stress cycle, but that's a more complex topic. We're not going anywhere near that in this video. But the point is, we need to let the body do its job. When we have symptoms and we're in the regeneration cycle, we need to honor the body and allow it to do its job of self-healing. And this is often the time when people go, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to take a flu remedy and I'm just going to push through and go to work and keep going. That is not helping your body. That is dishonoring your body's needs. And this is so common in our society that we're just treating the body like a mechanical machine. And it is not just a mechanical machine. It needs honoring and respecting, and we need to be able to understand how to operate it. As I've said before, the body is far too intelligent to make mistakes, and our body's ability to heal is far greater than anyone has permitted you to believe. It is a self-healing machine. And if we know how to identify what stage of the stress regeneration cycle we're in, we'll know what to do. We'll know what to do to help ourselves. So how do we know when symptoms are a sign of self-healing? Because as I said before, sometimes symptoms can come in the regeneration phase and sometimes they can come in the stress phase. Now this is quite a complex topic. And to start with, we need to learn how to notice and understand when symptoms are a sign the body is in the regeneration phase. But often we're going to need help from a professional to do this. It takes professional training to learn how to recognize this, because this is all being mapped out in a very specific way to be able to identify what do my symptoms mean. However, hopefully from this video, you may now have a different perspective of if you have symptoms, maybe there's another meaning for why I'm ill. And it's really important that if you're in doubt or you don't know, it's absolutely essential that you get the right professional help. And that could be from a natural therapy practitioner, and it could be from a medical doctor. And I just want to add one more thing in here as well. Symptoms and pain and fatigue are often the body's way of getting your attention. If we've been driving ourselves too hard, maybe working too hard, maybe not looking after ourselves properly with healthy food, maybe we've been smoking, maybe we've been drinking, maybe we've just been totally overdoing it and we're exhausted, then our body is not going to be happy with that, because it requires us to maintain balance and harmony in our life in order to maintain health. And if we've been causing damage to our body without knowing it on an unseen level through unhealthy habits, unhealthy lifestyle habits, through not managing our emotions or our stress, not living our life in a healthy way, at some point the law of cause and effect is going to come into play, and we're going to get sick. So this is why it is so important to understand what causes illness, to understand this natural healing cycle, and to respect ourselves so that we look after ourselves in order to maintain our health. And remember, we heal a person, not a health condition. We heal a whole person's life, not an illness.